Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope you've been out trick-or-treating with your kids. We just came back and had a hilarious time. It was so much fun. Kids loved it. Being able to be up late, eating candy. I mean, seriously, does it get any better than that? Hey, Jethro. Happy Halloween. Samahain. Samahain, I recognize that. What does that mean? It's so sweet. There's a small community around where we live, and then everyone has put out they do. If you're allowed to come in for candy, then they have like a pumpkin with a light in it, and then all the kids run around, and they're like gangs of 20 kids going around asking for candy. Old Pagan word for Halloween. Oh yeah, Samahain. I wonder if that's from a book series I read about a druid. I think it was called the Iron Druid. Really cool series, fantasy series. Hi, Wisdom of the Wood. Welcome. First time I see you, I think. But yeah, it's fun to see the kids so happy. And it's so, it's just contagious, you know, when you see a bunch of kids just having fun and they get to eat candy on weekdays. It's like, it's something special. And I always said that Christmas, but when you're a kid, Christmas is amazing. There's so much fun about Christmas and its presents and like the celebrations. Then kind of teenage years, okay, you get presents, but then after like 20, something like that, it's like, yeah, Christmas is like that much. I used to just get money after a while, like I didn't really get any presents. And then when you get kids again, Christmas starts being special and fun again, because then you get to experience through their eyes. It's one of the best things about having kids is that you get to enjoy that just like abundant appreciation for just small stuff that they're able to do, like small presents, preferably many presents. Like it doesn't matter how big the presents are, it's just you want to get many presents. Has everyone had a good week? Anything fun happen? I've been playing around with AI, Gemini AI. It's an incredible tool if you want to have like a discussion. I haven't really I've chatted a bit before, but now I actually tried talking to it, and it's really good if you want to have an idea you want to discuss. So for the videos, when I make those, it's difficult for me to discuss because for me it's just intuitive. Okay, this is just how it works. But like, okay, why does it work? How do you describe that to someone else? And it can actually be really useful to talk to an AI because it basically throws back everything you say and questions that and asks you about it and clarify, okay, is this what you mean? It will ask, and then like, no, actually I meant like this. I'm like, oh yeah. So actually the next video that's coming out tomorrow, I think it'll be tomorrow if I have time to finish the editing. That was part of that was actually the clarity in that part of that was thanks to the AI, because it helped me to structure. When I then did the talking, okay, I need to go through these points to make sure people understand what I'm talking about. So I found that really interesting, that it's something that can be that easy to use. And you really have a discussion, like the new AIs are incredible. It's like almost a fluent conversation. There's like these pauses, but it's much more fluent than you would expect it to be. Not Elon Musk, Tesla, fluent, not like that, like an actual person talking. Jethro is saying AI is fascinating, but you will find its limits the more you engage with it. ChatGPT has some really odd moral politics built into it too. Yeah, I don't really press up against that because I don't discuss those things. I just basically I ask it for, I want to make a video about this, and then I say what I want to explain, and then I say how can I make that clearer so that people understand, and it starts going different angles, and it asks me, okay, so you mean living in the present moment? Like, no, I'm not saying living in the present moment. I'm talking about something that's similar to that, but that's not what we're saying. Okay, so what do you mean then? And then it helps me to clarify the different points that I'm differentiating, which is really cool, actually. It can be a good way to have someone we call it, in Swedish, we call it a bollplank. It's like a plank where you throw a ball, because if you throw a ball by yourself, it just goes away. But if you have a bollplank, you throw it at the ball and it bounces back. So you have that when you want to think of ideas and clarify them. You have a bollplank. just bounce ideas back and forth so you can become clearer. Let's see, wisdom of the wood. Sadly, starting night shift today. I am a morning person and love being in the sun and the woods. So the last few days of trying to transition has been hard. Oh man, night shift. Dude, like, do you have any possibility of not doing that? I read so much about how bad that I personally could never work with that. I have such a hard time with sleep, and working a night shift it would completely ruin me. I need strict, like, this is when I go up and this is when I go to bed, and the sun is just so important, and there's like research on how bad it is. Okay, I don't want to make you feel bad about this, but there really is research on how bad it is for your physical and mental health to work night shifts. It's tough on the body. So unless you really, really have to, because obviously the money usually is really good, so that would be a reason, but otherwise, yeah, I feel for you. Like, that's tough. I'm guessing, like, you could try to get sunlight in there somehow, or turn the day around. I do have one friend who basically he wakes up, I think 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he goes and picks up the kids, and then he's like, his morning is playing with the kids in the evening, and then he's with them the whole evening, and he like takes care of everything. His wife comes home, and then she can rest because he just woke up, so he's there taking care of the kids and making food and just playing with them and having a good time. Puts them to bed, and then he goes to work at like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. and then he works all night, and he goes to bed at like, I'm not sure, I think he actually helps them to school, so he'll go to bed at like 8 o'clock or something like that, and then he sleeps 8 to 4. Yeah, that's 8 hours. That makes sense. So it's in a way that is incredible, because he's somehow able. He doesn't seem to be. I guess some people just have an easier time turning the hours around. Like I said, I could never do it. It just wouldn't work for me. But he seems really happy with it, and it makes a lot of sense. Like that he actually, yeah, when his wife is away, he's sleeping. And then the kids are away as well. And then he gets to spend all the time with his kids and have the evening and the morning, and then he works, and then he goes to bed. So it's like, it's a full-on schedule for him, but it seems to work really, really well for him. And he's very happy with it, because he gets to spend more quality time with his kids than he would have otherwise. I mean, if that works, I would just never be able to do it. But he's one of the few people I know who are really happy about working night shifts. And I've heard of other people who can make it work as well. So it's not that you're just going to not make it. But I've also heard a lot of people have a hard time with the night shifts. It's a routine as well, of course. Meditating would definitely help with just getting into the mood of going to sleep or getting up and getting all of that to work. Yeah, and being in the sun, I get it. What do you work with, if I may ask? Is it something that's intensive, or is it like a rather relaxed work? Like he does coding, the guy I was talking about. So for him, it's quite calm work. Jethro, have you tried anything with the AI more than, like you say, you come up against the limits of morals and politics? Is that when you ask it for opinions? What about, like, what do you use it for? Because what I found, like I've used it like Google, but actually having a discussion with it, like I said, a bollplank, someone that I could share ideas with to like get them back. What I found that it does is that I say something to it, and then it just repeats it back to me, but in different words. So if you have thoughts about like spirituality or meditation, you can not just ask it for help. Okay, so how do I do this? But you can actually say, like, okay, I think about it like this. How would that fit with the teachings of? And then you name someone, and you can kind of, you can ask it to, like, okay, if you were the Buddha, what would you tell me if I told you this? So you ask it to take on the personality of someone. It's like, it's quite incredible when you think about it. It's also quite incredible how someone who has control over that can influence you, because the person who controls that can, of course, influence the answers and influence your opinions. And there's a big discussion to be had about that. See, Jethro is saying, I experimented with getting AI to write stories, but it refuses to engage with certain themes and topics sometimes that aren't even controversial. That's interesting. It is worried about offending people. Yeah, that makes sense. Wisdom is saying, as soon as I possibly can, I'll be going back 2 days. I'll be working for Walmart as a stalker. Sadly, it was the only thing they had available. Oh man, yeah, I get it. And you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, and it's. I would be willing to do it for like a limited period of time, and if it was my family that was on the line that we needed to like get it work, then obviously you have to do what you need to do. It's kind of a given. There are, I know there are lots of things you can do to alleviate working night shift. So I'm not good at that, but I would definitely look that up. I'm sure you have already, since, I mean, you're on YouTube, so you probably looked up lots of YouTube videos on how to manage working night shifts. My ideal shift would be waking up at, I keep waking up 4 or 5 from pain in my neck, but I would be waking up 4 or 5, and then I get up, I help the kids go to school, and then I get to sleep another hour. And then I work, and then I go to work. I mean, I work here making YouTube scripts, and then I go to work for 4 hours, and then I come back, help the kids come home from school, and make dinner and everything, and then go to bed and sleep, and then, yeah, that would be really nice for me. Jethro, if you ever want a quick laugh, ask ChatGPT to summarize the plot of your favorite film or book in the voice of Donald Trump. Oh my goodness. That would be, and ask it to view it through the eyes of Donald Trump, just to get like a different perspective. That would be really cool. I'll have it do that. That sounds like a fun idea. Cool. Well, today's Thursday. I added the extra instruction that Donald hasn't really seen the film. That just makes it even better. So today's Thursday, so it's just sitting together. For those of you who are new, what we normally do is we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of coming back into your senses, meaning that you view the world through your senses, not through the story that you have, not just through your mind, but the actual feelings you have towards things. When we look at something, we try to just see them as they are, without having an emotional connection, without an emotional evaluation, but just seeing things as they are, or feeling things and really feeling what does it feel like, without feeling this is pleasant, unpleasant. Because if you look at that, that's a distortion. It's a kind of a haze in between you experiencing and what you are experiencing. So it makes it so that you don't experience how nice it actually is to feel like this. I talk about it in the video that I'll be releasing, like I said, tomorrow or the day after, that when you're newly in love with someone, then you have that, you've let go of all the distortions towards that person, except for some craving most of the time. But when you're with them, usually you think everything is amazing because you haven't started any strong pushing and pullings towards them yet. You just see them as beautiful, and usually, like I said, there's pulling, there's craving, but many times you don't have the bad things that create this friction in between, so you can really see them as they are. That's kind of what we're aiming for here. I don't want to say be in love with the sofa, but like just seeing it clearly without having any kind of resistance or craving towards it. Let's see, I'm just going to see what Wisdom says. Going to get ready to take my kids trick or treating. It was nice talking to you, and I hope you guys have a good evening. Yeah, you too, Wisdom. Good luck with everything, and feel free to come back when you can with the sleeping and everything. So we really try to see and feel what we're experiencing. After that, we sit for 20 minutes, and if there's any questions and answers, that's open for discussion afterwards. So I'll say it out loud, and you can say it with me. The important thing is to stop and experience it. Try to say it out loud, but it's better that you just do like one of them than all of them and really experience that one. If you can't say it out loud, by all means, just say it to yourself, but the whole idea is to stop and experience. So, I see a silvery reflection with lots of scrapes in it. And you'll notice when you're really able to see it without the distortion, it becomes so clear. It's almost like reality is is so there. It's more real than real. It's just really solid. It's not vibrating or anything. It's just, it's there. I see a lens. I see like light spilling over from the lamp. And I see a painting of a lizard that my father painted. I see a lock. Those are 5 things that I could see. And then we take 4 things that we can feel. I can feel my hairs being touched. Barely, just barely. I can feel pressure in my head. I can feel the sofa. And I can feel a rubber cord. There's 4 things that we could feel, and now we go into senses that need you to focus a little bit more to be able to be aware of them. So 3 things that you can hear. And here we try to not just take the first thing you hear, but listen for maybe not the most obvious sound, but something in the background. Sometimes there's nuances to the actual sound you're hearing. So I hear something soft being blown against this office by the wind. Maybe plastic. I hear rain on metal. I hear creaking in my neck. There's 3 things that we could hear. Now we take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell chocolate. I can smell something that smells like fresh paint. Finally, we take 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste orange. Taste of orange. drink some tea, ask a questions, or just keep on sitting, whatever feels best for you. Let's see, positive vibes. Hey, welcome. I'm not sure if you're still here. Jack, nice to have you here again as well. Oh, is the sound gone? You can't hear me? Really? Can you hear me now, Jack? You can hear me, Catherine? Okay, maybe just Jack who can't hear me. Well, that's strange. Could it be something on your end, Jack? Hey, Catherine, nice to have you here. Strange. It does happen. I just mute people, I think. Listen too much. Jethro. Let's see, Jethro is saying, am I right in thinking the focus of the meditation is the entirety of the sensations of the breath entering and leaving the body? Yeah, I would say so. There's a few ways in how you can use it. The way that I see it, bhavana meditation basically means to train the mind, to make it, imagine a muscle, right? Or no, even better than a muscle, because then you think strength. Instead, think of if you're painting. So you want to paint something, and the first time you take a pen and you put it to the paper, you kind of like, oh, you mash the pen. Like, oh, that was too hard. Now you need to do it a bit sensitive. And then you put it on and, okay, I'm going to draw a circle. It's actually really difficult to draw a circle, but then you know, and you learn how to make the movement. You start learning how to make certain shapes, and you learn how to use your hand with the pencil to make shapes. So when we sit and we observe the breath, we're learning how to use the mind to observe inside. And since we are not in this meditation trying to get into these deep meditation concentration states, they do happen by themselves, but that's not the main focus. If you want to do that, you need to focus on a small point, and you kind of lull yourself into not being there. You just the waves are coming in and out, coming more relaxed, and you just it's kind of like rocking a baby, and you want to rock them to getting calm and relaxed and just kind of dream away, and you get almost like a bit drugged, and then you get these concentration states. What we're trying to do is we're trying to be aware of the breath. We're actually trying to notice how there's movement inside of us. And we don't want to do it at a small point. We want to do it all over the body. It's almost like we're training the mind to be aware of this field that you can feel like up and down, like all of me. So then when you sit, you're sitting and there's a difficult thought that comes up, and you'll feel your body go kind of like almost like a shiver sometimes, or it tenses up. That's the distortion. That is the pressure that is created between this thing you believe you like or don't like and this centered point, the point that it pushes against. So by focusing on not just the breath, but the entirety of your body, you will learn to feel these distortions, this pressure. And when you start noticing that pressure, you realize that, hey, wait a minute, life is actually more difficult when I have a lot of that. When that drops away, all of a sudden I can see clearly, because I'm not constantly having this sound. Instead, there's stillness, it's calmness. The mind just works better, like being in the flow is something you hear quite often. The mind just works. It's not all these like pushing and pulling me like this is right, this is wrong, I shouldn't. Am I worthy of this? Can I do this? Oh, no one's done this before, I could not. Those things just kind of disappear. You're just experiencing. So we're training the mind to feel this pressure. The breath is just the anchor we use to have something to focus on, because you need to start somewhere. So, and you can always come back to it when it gets too much and you feel overwhelmed. You just come back to the mind, and then you do a bit more of this, just lulling yourself into calmness, because there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to calm down your mind and your whole body. That's incredibly useful sometimes, especially if it's like wisdom of the wood we were talking about before, who was talking about how he's going into a night shift. Then it could be a really good idea. If he's been working, he's coming home, his body's feeling strange and off, then it could be a really good idea to use this to calm down and to drop all the things that happen so that you can fall asleep. So yes, we're trying to feel the sensations of the breath, but more than that, we're trying to feel this field that we're pushing against the world around us, and realizing by feeling it that it's inherently uncomfortable. It's quite different from non-duality, which basically says that you try to get rid of concepts. I like this sofa. So you try to get rid of the idea or concept that this is a sofa I like, because there's no separation, they say. So you try to tell yourself, oh, okay, I don't like it and I don't dislike it. It's just there. And you try to kind of just take that away by changing your thoughts. The problem is you can still have a tension towards things around you, even though you don't have the concept. But if you start noticing what it feels like when you have this pressure towards it, especially when you sit and you get calmer, you notice that that's actually uncomfortable. And the sofa is something so small that you won't really feel this. But if you're thinking about, I love you so much it hurts, or sexual attraction towards someone or your partner or something you see on the screen when you're scrolling, that hurts. That is painful. Why are you doing that? Why are you hurting yourself? But most people don't realize that that's a problem. Or they think, I'm not supposed to feel this when I'm looking at that. So they try to make themselves wrong. They shame themselves, or they push it down, or think they shouldn't do it. The approach we're trying to do is realizing that you are hurting yourself by doing this. And when you realize that, then gradually, it's a slower process in one way, but it can go really fast when you get it and it clicks. But we're trying to see for ourselves why this is bad. I'm not trying to tell you what is right and wrong. This is why there's a few who in the chat who ask questions. What should I do here? What's the right choice? How do I love myself more? Like, I never deal with those things. You just look at this and you say, oh, wait, I am hurting myself. Why am I doing that? Or I feel bad when someone is being mean to someone on TV. It's a TV show. It's not even real. Why are you hurting yourself over that thing that is just a story? It's not even real. And then you start looking at that, and then you say, okay, I'm watching the news. Well, should I feel bad about that? And then you say, okay, I want to feel good even though there's something bad happening outside. Then the self comes and says, no, you cannot feel good now because look at how terrible this is. You should feel bad. And then you have to look at this idea that the self believes you need to do certain things to fit in, to be right, to be a good person. And at the same time as we do all of this, a really important point is, there's two important points. We turn towards joy and appreciation. We try to enjoy being here, to experience the world through our senses, because that helps this effortlessness come up to the surface. And another thing that I don't talk about so much is to not harm other people, not harm other things even, just being at ease with the world, not taking action to be cruel towards someone or to get revenge or to make them feel bad or to do something that you feel is wrong towards them. The reason I don't talk about it so much is because that's basically what all religion says, like follow our precepts, follow our rules. And I think most of those things are really good. I mean, why should I sit here and say what's right and wrong? Like, just take anything you feel comfortable with. Because that's, I mean, just don't be a jerk. Don't be an idiot. Like, seriously, we don't need to make it, I talk about this many times. People make it so difficult. Like, just be a normal person. You don't be an idiot. Like, just be kind. And when I say kind, then of course you get into the idea, what is kind? Is helping someone being kind? Because then they never learn themselves, or is it kind to help? Like, it's quite difficult to use words like kind, but just don't hurt others and just don't be an idiot or an asshole. I mean, that's basically it. So yeah, there's a lot more to it, but the meditation fits in beautifully in bhavana, training the mind. So we're using it as it's basically going to the gym. You're doing that so that throughout the day, you can have this awareness of what's happening inside of you. So when you meet someone and they say something to you, and normally you would just go like that, you then talk to them and they say that and you go and then while you're being angry, like, oh, wait a minute, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Why the heck am I doing that? And then the next time it happens, it goes, and you, I can't stop it, and you still spew out and you start fighting. After you've done this for a while, like, okay, I feel it. I can even feel it coming. I can feel that I'm starting to, and gradually you'll see like, oh wait, I am doing this. And so then you'll stop doing that action, which is like that's the side effect of it. But then you let go of this distortion, this pressure, and you realize, hey, I don't need to have this fight. It doesn't mean you need to agree with them. That doesn't mean you need to go along with what they say. It just means that you don't need to feel this intense distortion or pressure towards this thing happening outside. And the remarkable thing is that when you do that, usually you make much, much, much better choices, because you're not involving or protecting or defending or trying to get validation for this thing you believe is you. That's a long answer to a short question. I hope that makes sense. Catherine, I have finally stopped blaming myself for everything bad that happens in my life. Things don't happen to me. Things just happen. Exactly, Catherine. How we deal with things, our reactions, are what matters. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Instead of making these stories of like how things are and like that, or like, oh, I'm not angry at them because they didn't do that. It's their upbringing, or this happened to them, or they have. Instead of doing that, it's just things happening, and not taking the approach that some Buddhist traditions have. There, oh, I'm like beyond the world. I don't care about the world. Harm me, do whatever you want to me. I don't. No, that's not what we're talking about. Don't be like dumb. Like, obviously, if someone hits you, just get out of the way or try to move out of that situation or defend yourself. I mean, if someone is hitting you, then defend yourself. Preferably try to get out of the way. There's I don't know if I want to say aversion, but it just doesn't make sense to be violent. But that doesn't mean you couldn't protect yourself. So yes, I agree completely, Catherine. That's kind of what I'm pointing towards. Don't blame yourself. Don't make up all these stories. Things happen. You made a mistake. Okay, I was an idiot. I did this thing that I was not supposed to do, and now I'm in a bad situation. Instead of making the story, I'm a bad person, or I shouldn't have done this, oh my goodness, I could have done this. How could they have done this to me? Instead of doing all of that, what is happening right now, and what's the best reaction to that? What should I do now? Without this feeling. So the breath is just what we use to train our mind to be able to observe that, and then gradually be able to see, oh, that is hurting me, and not this instinctive response to when that hurts. Overeating, I work with a lot of people, of my clients, who overeat, and one of the things they do when you eat, you're not actually hungry. You have discomfort inside of you, and you eat, and that changes your physiology, and then you feel better again. But it's actually a distortion. It's actually a pressure. There's some kind of anxiety, or there's something happening that is making you feel uncomfortable, and you're not wanting to look at that. You don't want to face that. So I take a chocolate. I mean, I am a chocoholic. I love chocolate. It's one of my vices. I'm guilty of this, so you're not alone. I'm not blaming anyone for this. And it's also part of the whole thing is that you become softer towards yourself when you start seeing this, because you realize that, hey, wait a minute, I'm not really in control here. This distortion system, this pressure, like it's been created from birth, upbringing, school, society, social media, girlfriend, boyfriends, partners, friends, colleagues, newspaper, like all of that stuff is creating this, and we're just kind of along for the ride, it feels like sometimes. So this is really taking back control and experiencing life and not the story of your life. Jethro, thank you. That all makes sense. Perfect. I'm happy that it did. I sometimes go off on tangents and say a lot of stuff, because it's the same thing when I answer. I don't sit and think in my mind, okay, this is the right answer. It's important they get it wrong. I usually have no idea what I'm saying. I just get out of the way, and I try to not involve my story. And I just say whatever comes to mind from this with as little... I just watch to make sure that I'm not distorting, that I don't want you to think a certain way of me, or that I'm worried about what people think of me when I say things, or all that stuff. And then things just come out. Sometimes I know that can take me off on tangents that people just don't get, so I'm happy that it worked. All your tangents are helpful. Thank you. I usually say in a jokeful manner, but it's actually true. It's much easier for me when I have people on a course, because then I lock them up in a room for the whole day, and then the tangents make sense. The problem is when people come to YouTube, we have 5 minutes, or no, we don't have 5 minutes, we have 3 seconds. And if you're not interested, then you kind of get away. So you need to be very condensed and focus on YouTube. And it has helped me become clearer in how I explain things. So I'm happy that the tangents are useful as well. Jack. Angulimala. Can you elaborate on him for half a minute? Angulimala, was he the one with the necklace of teeth or bones of people he had killed or something like that? Jack, I'm the worst person to ask questions about Buddhism. I mean, I know many of the stories, but I'm not a... I had a discussion. Yes, that's him. I had a discussion actually with... I have some people who help me with YouTube and how to, just make content. And they were saying, like, oh, you should use your monk card more. Tell people you're a monk. Like, use that. That creates interest. That will make people listen to you. I kind of like... I'm not sure, because I'm not even sure it's important. It feels like the least important thing about me, like that I was a monk. That's just like a tiny side note here on the side that I was a monk. I don't consider that really that important. I mean, that was the means by which I was able to do what I did, and I'm very, very grateful that I got to live those 6 years as a Buddhist monk and not have any responsibilities in the outside world, and actually go inwards and explore this myself. But I don't consider myself a Buddhist. Even then, I didn't consider myself a Buddhist. In the beginning, I was playing with the idea of being and trying to do, but then I realized, wait, I'm just rehashing what other people say to me. Like, I don't want to become a priest. That's not what I did this for. And when I say that, some people say, oh my goodness, that's so bad. You just took from Buddhism. Others say, that's exactly what monkhood is supposed to be like. You're supposed to go in and explore yourself. You're not supposed to just read text and try to learn from... You're supposed to experience it yourself. And that's really what I did. So me being a monk, I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not teaching Buddhism. I am teaching what came to me while I was sitting, and I realized, hey, wait a minute, there's a problem. And monks have problems. Someone wrote as a comment on one of my videos, I think I spoke about this last time, that monks don't have problems. They just have situations they deal with. And I thought that sounded like the Chuck Norris jokes, because like Chuck Norris doesn't... Yeah, if you know Chuck Norris, you know he's amazing. He's the coolest guy on the planet. So the Buddhist part is not my main forte. It's just a vehicle I use to come to the point I am now. And I'm very grateful for that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to teach what Buddhism teaches, because I think there's so many things missing. And I think that Buddhism has become too reliant on knowledge, because that's the only way you can keep it as a religion and keep it tied together, and lost its focus on actually exploring and discovering yourself. The one sutra that I really believe in is the Kalama Sutra, which says that don't believe anything just because the elders in your tribe says so. Don't believe anything just because you've heard it many times. Don't believe anything just because it makes sense to you. You need to explore, you need to look in deeper, and you shouldn't believe the old textures of your tribes, meaning that we need to discover for ourselves. It's completely, you listening to what I'm saying is useful in the sense that it can give you perspective, but if you listen to it and then just do anything, there's no point to it. And if you understand it, it still doesn't help. You need to experience it. You need to feel this distortion. You need to do this and observe the breath and see, oh my goodness, it is painful when I'm angry with someone. I am hurting myself. Not because someone says so or because I read it, but like I can actually feel that. And then when you see, oh, actually, you know what? It's painful when I feel really strong attraction. It's painful when I feel what I would normally call love. There's a softer, more intimate way of interacting with another person. It is actually painful to like my sofa. You need to experience that. You hearing about it and understanding it does nothing. So let's see. Angulimala, yeah. I don't remember much about it. I just remember that it was something that it was a monk who went, was he a monk? Who went mad and killed people and collected a necklace, and then the Buddha said something and he stopped, I'm assuming. He'd be a perfect figure for that kind of logic. Which kind of logic, Jack? Let's see. Siddhartha was in a Buddhist as well. So no, yeah, exactly. That's what I say as well. Like, there was no Buddhism. The funny thing is that in the beginning, after the Buddha passed away, there were no Buddha statues. That didn't exist. The way they symbolized the Buddha was with, see if I remember correctly, either was two things, a footprint or a Bodhi leaf, meaning the tree under which he sat when he supposedly became enlightened. Those were the things that they used as symbols for the Buddha. There were no images of the Buddha. In other words, we have no idea what the Buddha looks like. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't know that. But then it became a religion, and then all these other things came. And today in Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism especially, they consider the precepts to be the main thing of if you're a good monk or not. Funny thing was that when Siddhartha was alive, he refused to make more rules than necessary. Unless someone actually ran into a problem, he didn't want any precepts or any rules, because they actually hinder you from your practice. They can be really good in making sure you don't go off in too many tangents or get too distracted by things, but they're just the framework you need to still do, and ultimately that would just kind of go away. Do you still keep any precepts? Oh, I never think of precepts, no. But I mean, I try to do as little harm to the world around me as possible. I try to be kind. No, actually, I don't try to be kind. I don't do that. It's just very natural for me to be kind. My fiancée always says that she loves how I interact with people, strangers, that I don't know, because if I see a stranger, I was at a cash register today. What did I buy? I bought something. And there was a girl sitting behind the counter, and she had these like really cool eyebrows. She had plucked them. She was Asian. And she had plucked them like Spock. You know, like they went up like this. And I said, wow, those are some really cool eyebrows you had. And I could see that she was a bit like, okay. And then she was really happy to hear it. Most people would not say that, or they would be flirting with them or something, but actually just spontaneously sharing what you feel when you see other people, like being happy about them. Or I will go up to kids and say like, oh, how's it going? Or if a parent has like an argument with a kid, I can sometimes go in and say like, oh, hello there. Is there a problem here? And then go, and just being kind to people, you know. Someone, you drive, you're walking and there's a crossing and a car stops. I always turn and I say, thank you. Or when someone stops on the road for me, I just wave. If I don't know someone, and I just say hi when I'm in a waiting room. It's not that I'm trying to be kind. It's just that when you're not distorting, when you don't need to protect yourself, there's no shyness. There's no like fear of needing to be okay or not like offend people or afraid that you're going to make a fool of you. You just act. It's so much easier to live life like that. So you don't need to try to follow the precept. It's just that many of those behaviors come automatically. Naruto Curl. Hi, nice. Welcome to have you here. Happy to have you here and welcome. What are your thoughts on New Age teachers like Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle, Moji? I have listened to some Rupert Spira, and I think he's quite full of it. I'm sorry if I say that, but I think it's just like, that's just like word pooping. I think non-duality in general, I think they get it. They miss the main point. You should watch a video. I'm releasing it tomorrow or the day after, and it's actually about that tangent that people mistake the self for a concept. The self is not a concept. I mean, the effect of the self can sometimes be a concept, but the self is an actual sensation. You have the sense of self, which is why when I listen to these non-dual teachers, like when I came back after being a monk, I'm like, oh my goodness, holy crap, there's like all these people and they're all enlightened and liberated. Wow, I need to listen to this. And the more I listen, like, wait a minute, what are they talking about? Oh, they're just talking about the perspective change, that you don't feel like you're really here and like you have all these feelings and emotions and it's not really like it's happening. Yeah, but so what? Like, they're still suffering. There's still like all this distortion. Like, you haven't really, that's just like the starting point. So I think they teachers like that. Eckhart Tolle, he's a little bit more difficult because he doesn't really talk so much about how he actually experiences reality. He basically made up, I think he has something he called the pain body. That would be the distortion from my perspective. I read his books before and I love them, and I think they're very beautiful. The power now, like, it's just become so living in the present moment. Just be like, I think it misses so much nuance and detail that it's nice for just general, but if you really want to get into it, it lacks a lot of depth, detail. And like I said, I think the people who try to reason themselves with their mind are kind of like just playing the game of the self. You believe, and it fits so perfectly into the Western mindset that I, like the self, I can do this, I can figure this out, which is like, no, you cannot figure this out. It is not something you should figure out with your mind. It is something you should experience. And the mind, yeah, sure, it can help. Like, there's some of these self-inquiries can actually help. There can be some really good stuff coming from that, but they can also cause disassociation and all kinds of weird issues that I have people contacting me about. Like, it's not uncommon that it kind of goes wrong because you're trying to convince yourself that how you're experiencing reality is not true. I am not here. The sofa is not here. It's just an illusion. Well, like your senses are telling you. You don't know if it's an illusion. It could be. I mean, that's just a belief. It's just like any religion. But now we're believing something about how we're perceiving reality. So I think, yeah, I think that's kind of, I understand how it's become so popular, and I can understand how you can get some good results from it. But I think it lacks so much, and it really misses the point because it focuses so heavily on our thoughts, on our concepts of reality, which there is truth to that, but there is something behind that. And they just stop there, and everyone's so happy to say, I'm awake. Like, it's just such a small thing to have awakened. And then making this big thing and thinking, oh, I'm so different now and I see the world. You're just making things more difficult. You're feeding the sense of self like, oh, I'm special. I'm different from everyone else now. So, yeah. Jethro, good question, Naruto. Yeah, I think as well. That's a good question. By the way, nice camera light setup. Thank you. I got a new lamp and I fixed the lighting. Thank you. I'm happy you noticed. It's like a girl when she puts, my fiancée, when she puts makeup. I'm like, oh, nice makeup. She doesn't need it, but it's very nice when she makes it. It makes her feel better. I guess I feel better when I have some lights on. Jack also. Thank you, Jack. Or did you upgrade the camera to No, the camera is not upgraded. The camera is exactly the same. Jethro, for supreme non-dual word pooping, check out Jim Newan. Oh, I recognize him. Wait, is he the Jim Newan? I recognize. I think I've seen him. Yeah, it's basically they're just saying you don't need to do anything. You're already enlightened. There's nowhere to go. Nothing. Okay, what that does, it can for some people relieve. Like if you've been pushing and be trying to getting somewhere, telling someone you don't need to go anywhere. There's nothing wrong with you. You're already enlightened. That can release some of this tension, this pressure that you have. That I'm not okay. I'm already. But by hearing that, they're like, I'm already okay, and that pressure disappears. So I see non-duality more like self-help. Like I think a lot of people come into non-duality when they feel bad, and it can help them with that. But it can also tip over and go too far. And I've seen a lot of weird stuff come from people taking that kind of thinking too far, and it just complicates things for them. Which is why I say I like the way that I kind of structure this, how it's not about the outside things, it's not even about the inside things, what you think and believe about things. It's just about this issue I had when I was ordained, when I left and became ordained as a monk, which is, why can I never be fulfilled? Why do I always want more? What is this goddamn feeling inside of me that makes it so that I can never rest? I always need to go over there. Why can't I just be here and be happy with that? What is it I need? Just someone tell me. And that's what kind of sparked this practice that I had when I noticed, hey, wait a minute, there is something there. There is this pressure, distortion, like I call it, the friction towards everything around me and inside of me. And instead of trying to change the world, which is what most people do, or changing your beliefs, like non-duality, which just changes your beliefs into something else, you can actually look directly at this pressure happening between reality and your way of wanting to perceive reality or your desire for reality. Just work with this directly. I believe that all forms of therapy and self-help, basically what it does, it just gives you an excuse to drop this. You feel hurt because of what happened, and then someone tells you the reason they behaved this way was because blah, 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 blah. Their father had just died and they felt bad, so now they hurt you. Oh, okay, I get it. I don't need to feel bad because that's why he or she behaved that way. And you allow yourself to feel good. I'm saying you don't need to have a reason. Just allow yourself to feel good. But we have been raised from birth not to do that. And I do it myself to my kids. I hate to say it. I try not. But like, if you don't do that, you don't get this. You eat your food or you don't get to watch the TV. You clean up or you don't get to go there. Or we do this now or we don't go. I wish it was easier being a parent, and we really try to not do that, but it's just, yeah, you just have this, you've been messed, I don't want to use the words that kind of come to my mind now, but like, yeah, you've been screwed from birth, kind of. We're just trying to unscrew ourselves. Nothing to go, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Yes, Jack, that's it. He is the guy who technically doesn't, yes, I think I've heard of him. I heard of him, Jethro, and I've seen some of his videos. And like I said, when I came back after being a monk, I was listening to these people like, oh my goodness, they're like geniuses. They figured it, not geniuses, they're like liberated beings. And then I started hearing what they were saying, like, wait a minute, like, yeah, just telling yourself you don't exist, kind of like, I'm not here. And they're so into this discussion, but they still have all these emotions. I think another one that's really much more down to earth is Jeff Foster, who actually have a personal connection with through a friend who used to date him. He seems to be a very down-to-earth guy who's also a non-duality teacher, then gave that up and said, like, you know what, it's just BS. Like everyone tries to uphold this image. I was suffering, they were suffering. Like, what are we doing? He seems to be a cool guy. I've never met him, but like I said, I've had friends who've been close to him. Did you start late today or am I late? Hey, JVP. No, oh my goodness, it's 9:15. We just had a really nice discussion and then we carried on. I'm supposed to go to bed. I am tired. But as always, I love these conversations. They're good for me and I hope they're good for you. So just carry on sometimes. I need to go to bed. I really enjoyed tonight and I'm happy that so many came and shared in the discussions. I'm thinking that maybe we'll do something sometime where we might do it on a weekend on a different time. That might be easier. And we'll have no sitting, we'll just have discussions. I also have been planning, I just haven't had time to fix anything with it, some kind of forum or group or like community, something where we could have more discussions, but also having in that, because people come to me when I have coaching and they might not afford that and they say, okay, so there's something else. So one option would be to have a once per month we have a Zoom call where people can actually call in and we can have a discussion, because I feel like I know everyone who come here regularly and you're my friends. I would love to see your faces and have a communication where we can talk, because it is very nice to see text, but it's so much easier when you can actually talk and hear people. And I have been trying to make these evenings more like my coaching sessions. At first I didn't think that was going to be possible, but since there's so many regulars coming back, it's easier for me to actually continue and go into more depth on subjects, even though I repeat myself a lot, but that's just good. I mean, the teachings are very, very simple and there's not a lot to learn. You can just view it from different angles. So maybe in the future that will come. Monthly Zoom would be great. Yeah, I if I just had a little bit more time, but I will, eventually that will come when I have time to figure it out. Cool. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a amazing weekend and a happy Halloween, and I hope you get lots of candy.